Hey friends, and welcome back to Stronger Every Day. My name is Chrissy, and so today I have a few videos that I have in mind that I've already documented that I want to do, and then this one was one of them. And then I heard a video from Rory Feek, and if you don't know who that is, he and his wife that has since passed, Joey and Rory, have a kind of a country duet. They did some gospel. He has a house in Columbia, Tennessee, which is close to Nashville, that he does concerts in his barn. They kind of converted a barn. Nick and I have been a couple of 3 times, and you just leave there just feeling good, feeling just recharged. And it's not just a concert. He talks about his life with Joey, and he talks about their love, and he talks about how things kind of happened on the farm that they purchased. They have an incredible story. I would highly encourage you to check them out. Like I said, I'll try to link the video that he posted below, but it was basically talking about our time and where we spend it, and do we spend it on this, or do we spend it, where are we spending our time? And I've said before that I am not against social media. Friends, that's how we communicate with each other, right? That's one of the first tools that I used when God called me to help people that are struggling like we are with mental illness was YouTube, and then Instagram as well. And so I'm not anti-technology. I think everything has its place, or most everything has its place. There's good and bad things about everything. We as humans tend to ruin it, right? It's a good thing. That's why there's like these bizarre warning labels on different things, and you're like, wow, why do you have to have a warning label? Well, somebody or somebody's caused the warning. But it's talking about real relationships and just how far we've gotten away from that. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, is having real relationships. We have gotten so far away from being able to have a face-to-face conversation with somebody. We're socially awkward, not because we don't know how to communicate, or in fact, the fact that we don't know how to communicate with a person. We're used to doing this. We don't even call anymore, right? We use our cell phone, or we communicate via email, or, whatever, social media app. And we've gotten away from that face-to-face conversation. We are made to have a community around us. We are not made to be solitary and live by ourselves and never be around anyone else. If you think about people in prison that are in solitary confinement, they limit the time that they put them there. It does something to your mind after a while. Now, sometimes getting away from everything is a good thing, right? For a day, 2 days, a week, whatever that looks like for you. But to just lock everybody out, and our only communication with each other is via an electronic device. And even the phone, is an electronic device when you're talking on it, but at least we're talking, we're hearing each other. You can FaceTime one another, and at least you're seeing that person interacting. This generation, this newest generation, is the most depressed generation of ever. The most misunderstood communication that we use today is texting. And I think it leads back to the fact that we don't know how to communicate anymore. We don't know how to develop real relationships. Back when I was younger, we didn't have cell phones. If you wanted to talk to me, most of the time we were busy. We were face to face. We were playing sports, singing in the choir, at my brother's sporting events, at my sporting events, at family gatherings, potlucks, neighborhood parties. We were face to face with people. We were interacting face to face. We had face to face conversations. And if you wanted to talk to someone on the telephone, you had to call them on a landline, where you look at it, it was looked at as a bad thing because you had to stay in one place. Actually, that's a very good thing, because you couldn't wander around the home doing other things and half listening to the conversation and half not. And I've never been a huge fan of talking on the telephone. I would rather be a face-to-face. I do text a lot now, and I'm trying to gradually get myself out of that, just to have that face-to-face conversation. When we look at, I want to read a verse. It's 1 Thessalonians 5:11. It says, "So encourage each other and build each other up, just as you're already doing. Encourage one another." And another verse is Colossians 3:13. "Make allowances for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others." What happens is when we don't have face-to-face communication with people, you know, you've got 5,000 followers. You don't have 5,000 friends. You have 5,000 people. Well, let's say 498 people, or 4,998 people who are just there for the show. They're there for the gossip. They're there for the information. They're there for the ammo, right? We've talked about that. You have friends, and then you have acquaintances who are there for ammunition and ammo, right? What can they learn about you, and what can they repeat about you? And we get into this, we'll text each other. Texting each other, if you ever think about how many misunderstandings have happened in your time on texting where you took something wrong or someone took what you sent wrong. I know my husband cannot stand when you text back the letter K for okay. He takes that as you're too busy, you're irritated, you're upset, you don't have time, and he takes it as a bad thing. Whereas a lot of people, you're just shortening literally 2 letters, but you're shortening the word. So I don't text that ever. I text okay. So I text O and K. But he would take that as offensive. And so when we're communicating, even like this, you can look at my face and see my tone. You can see my expressions. You can see whether I'm excited, sad, happy, enthusiastic, passionate. You can see everything that's going on in my facial expressions. You know, we're losing that reality because everything's virtual now. Everything is electronic, and we don't have those connections anymore. Every time I'm around any of our family, almost every person there has their cell phone with them and is actively on it doing something, kids included. And friends, what's super scary about kids today is there's studies that show that kids spend 8 hours on electronic devices a day. 8 hours. So your kid is learning how to act and how to behave and how to be a citizen, how to be a person, how to be a human via social reality, social media. You can take them to church all you want on whatever day you go to church for that hour or hour and a half or 2 hours. But if that's the only God they get, and the rest of their time is based on what this shows, and you wonder why things are going wrong, they're being taught how to behave via social media. Not you. And when they're around you, your face is in the phone, right? They see how you interact. How do you and your husband or you and your wife interact, right? Are you sitting in the same room, but you're both on your phones for hours, endlessly scrolling? Are you, instead of picking up the phone and calling your spouse, are you texting them? Now, I know sometimes it's not necessarily appropriate. You know they're at work, and you know they're probably going to be busy, or maybe they can't have calls or text at work. And so, or maybe you know they can't be disturbed with a telephone call, but there's something important that you need to tell them, so you call or text. I get that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about everyday conversation. And I've noticed it between Nick and I, that I'm busy all day, he's busy all day, and then when we're home together, our mind is just, we're exhausted from the day. And so we zone out on something, right? On either I had a coloring, just like color by numbers app on my phone, and I realized that I was spending an hour some days coloring on my phone. And same for him, you know, scrolling through different reels and different videos, and you get lost in how long you're on there. And friends, that's what those sites are meant to do, right? Is to keep you on the site and engaged. And while there's nothing necessarily wrong with either one of those, maybe you take 5 minutes on that app, or maybe you take 5 minutes, you know, scrolling through reels just to kind of decompress your mind. But then we need to have real conversations with each other. How was your day? How was work? What happened with the kids? What's going on with the family? What happened? You know, did we get this bill paid? Did we do this? Let's talk about date night. Let's talk about, can we save up for a vacation? Let's talk about, you know, bills are tight this month. How are we going to fix this? Let's communicate with one another. If you think about, I use the example of okay versus K, right? Which okay can mean, okay, I'm, you know, I perceive that as, okay, I agree, we'll get that done. And K can be perceived like Nick perceives it. That I don't have time for you, I'm in a rush, you're bothering me, you're irritating me, I don't have time for this. And it can be perceived as a bad thing. Or if you think about, if you're busy and you say, hold on just 1 second and I'll call you in just 1 second, versus saying something like, give me just a second, right? Hold on. If you send just hold on, that's very abrupt. It can be taken as very abrupt, that I don't have time for this right now, don't bother me, versus give me just 1 second and I'll call you, or I'll text you back. Lets me know that you're really busy at that moment, and if you could, you would respond to me, but you're super busy. We interpret, and then the person who sent the text, they don't know that you're upset, and then you're upset with them, and they are having to apologize for something that if we were having face-to-face communication wouldn't be an issue, right? I am not anti-social media. I'm anti the amounts of time that we pour into it, and it gives us very little back. There's one social media app that I've debated over and over and over about getting rid of. I don't go on it much. I justify my mind keeping it because a lot of people I know from my hometown are on that app, and it helps me keep up kind of with them, because we've lost connection with one another. If you want to really get down to it, I don't live there anymore. We don't hang out anymore. It's people that are honestly in my past that I still love and care about. And I justify, we just had a friend of ours pass away, and I don't know that I would have known that had I not had that app. That's how I'm justifying keeping that particular app. But if it all boils down to it, if we had real relationships, somebody would call and say, hey, did you hear about so-and-so passed away? Or did you hear so-and-so got a new job? Or that person would contact me. But we just kind of rely, well, I posted it. Did you not see where I posted that photo? Did you not see where I posted that? You know, that's how we rely on everything these days. We don't learn anything via face-to-face. It's sad. And it's sad that we are raising our children, both this generation and the generation before them. It's all electronic, right? Everything's electronic. Friendships, you know. It scares me when I see some of the younger people in our family on their cell phone all the time, because I know what I see when I'm on different apps, and I go through routinely and we'll say, you know, don't recommend this to me, don't, you know, hi or whatever, that I don't want to see stuff like that. But then more pops up, right? Well, they don't have the brain capacity to say, you know, I don't need to be seeing this, or this isn't something I want to pay attention to, and to be able to do that. I hear things come out of different people's mouths, and I'm thinking, where did you hear that from? And it's a social media app. Friends, there is something so powerful about real relationships. I think that stems from our severe depression, our severe anxiety, our severe PTSD, schizophrenia, bipolar, there's over 200 different mental disorders. we get on these apps, we compare ourselves, we compare our lives, we compare everything that we see in a reel or in a photo that took a second to take, and we compare our entire life to that second, that you have no idea if there was a fight to get that picture taken, like these beautiful family photos of all the kids looking perfect. Now there's technology that you can just, something got Stella excited. Now there's technology that if you don't like that picture, you can just change the face on it. You can just pluck that out and pluck this out. Nothing's real anymore. And then we filter things to such an extent that you don't even look the same anyway. We have got to get back to face-to-face, one-on-one friendships and relationships. We are meant to be social beings. Whether you are more introverted or extroverted, I am definitely more introverted. I'm meant to have friends and family around me. My husband is extroverted. He's meant to have friends and family around him. We are meant for relationships. You see it through and through in the Bible. Jesus was with people. He was with his core 12, or his 12, and then his core 3. And then multitudes of people followed, right? We're meant to be together. Now, he did take time by himself. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm saying that we are drastically getting into a lifestyle of disconnecting from everyone and everything except technology. We have gotten to a society today that everything is electronic, right? Our medical records, which can be hacked, are electronic. Our communications, which can be monitored and hacked and used against you in court, are electronic. Our coupons for, there used to be and there still is, cutting coupons. Now we're doing electronic coupons so we can save the planet. No, we're not. We don't. Those people that are saying that would not hesitate for a second to chop down 100 acres of trees to build a store right there in a parking lot. They're doing it so that they can track what you're buying, so that then they know and they can target you more on those particular items or items similar to that, right? All of that information is being fed back to the companies. And if you don't think that's accurate, it was probably 10 years ago, there was a site called Inbox Dollars. It's still there, and you could do surveys and get, little bits of money back and forth. And so on my lunch break, I would get on Inbox Dollars and I would take surveys. And one of the things it was talking about is, the way it phrased it, it targeted you specifically. Wouldn't you like for websites to monitor what you're doing? It would be so much more helpful if instead of having to search out those things, they were just presented to you when you logged on. No. My answer was no. I don't, if I want to go to a website, I'll go to that website. Like, I don't need you to monitor me, and every website monitors what you do. It's very simple. As soon as you click on the website, you'll see that in a social media ad. It's set up that way. Or it'll pop up in a feed. It's set up that way, friends. You're being monitored. And I'm all about the environment. Yes, we need to do what we can to save the environment, but don't say that we're doing digital coupons now. And my favorite is the credit card companies, right? Sign up to help the planet without us having to send a bill. Yet every single day we get junk mail from credit card companies wanting us to sign up with their credit card. So don't tell me that your purpose is to save the planet when you're sending me junk mail anyway, but you don't want to have to pay to send me a bill so that I can pay my bill. It should be all online. Well, if that's your thought, then everything should be online. Don't send me communications trying to get me to sign up for your credit card if you truly care about the planet and you want everything to be online. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. My eyes have been opened, right? It annoys me that when I go to the grocery store that my coupons are now all electronic. And so if I want to use a coupon now, whatever grocery store I'm going to, or whatever drugstore that I'm going to, they know everything that I'm interested in, and then I'm targeted for that because it's saving the planet. No, it isn't. It's so that you can target and sell my information. there's a website, which I do want to do. I want to do some more research on it, but it's a mental health website that has actually been sued by the FTC. Did an investigation about them selling information of people that were doing online mental health, and they were selling email addresses and questionnaires and all kinds of information, right? And it's, you know, but we don't want to drive to the counselor, which unfortunately now all of our medical records are electronic. So even going to a face-to-face counselor or a face-to-face general practitioner or face-to-face cardiologist or psychiatrist or whoever, everything's electronic. There's very few and far between offices that are not all electronic now. Vet offices are electronic, and all of that can be hacked. All of that has a purpose. There's a purpose that it's electronic, friends, and it is not to save the planet. It isn't. It's interesting to me. Just be honest and say, listen, we're doing this because in our mind we think that we're helping you as a consumer, because we're keeping track of what you're doing, and that way you don't have to search as much, and we're saving time. Okay, at least that's where you're saying you're coming from. Don't lie and say you're trying to save the planet. You know, even the grocery stores and the drugstores and all of these places that you have a little card to scan your loyalty or whatever card. I get stuff in the mail from them all the time. You're not trying to save the planet. You're trying to save some money for your CEO's pocket. This went in such a different direction than I had planned on. But if you looked at any of my social media accounts, those are real moments, but they're moments of my life. You're not seeing the behind the scenes. Like today, let's take today before I got on to film. I got up this morning. It was one of those days I had to make myself get up. I have not been sleeping well, and that's actually a video that we're going to do later. I had to make myself get up. I had to make myself brush my teeth, and I just kind of put a cool rag on my face to kind of wake myself up. I did my self-care routine, which for me is get up, brush your teeth, wash your face, and put some lip chapstick on. And then I've also implemented now that you need to get dressed. And for me, that's blue jeans and a sweatshirt, right? That's pretty much my dress code most of the year. I'm cold natured, so I'm cold a lot, or blue jeans and a t-shirt. It's not staying in my pajamas or throwing on sweatpants and whatever. It's at least being my definition of presentable, which is what you guys see every day. So it's not a lot, right? But there's things there that make me feel better about myself. And so it's scary, the level of disconnect that we have in our society today. And it seems like it's just acceptable by everybody that we don't need to do that. You can just text me, you can just email me, I'll see it on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter or whatever. Nothing can replace that. Nothing can replace that face-to-face. You're seeing people. You're having to devote your attention to that conversation. That was one thing they were talking about with texting, is that one of the reasons why we prefer texting over talking is because when I text you, you have time to think about your response. And if you're busy right at that moment, you can ignore that text and just deal with it later. Now, you can ignore a phone call as well. And yes, you should think before you speak. But if you're texting me in between doing a load of laundry, washing the dishes, getting the kids fed, on your lunch break, on your way home, you're distracted by 500 different things. And while it's important that we multitask, friends, one-on-one relationships are huge. It's huge for our mental health, and we're wondering why we're so depressed, but yet we keep coming out with new apps and new ways to disconnect from people altogether. That's what it's meant to do eventually, is just disconnect us altogether, right? We work from home, and don't get me wrong, I think that's nice to be able to work from home, but you're not having to socialize and interact with people anymore. We watch church from home. I think that's a great asset to have if you're sick, or having a, you know, someone in your family sick, or if you're having a bad mental health day and you just can't get up. At least you still have the ability to watch it, or if you're homebound. But to never go to church when you're healthy and there's nothing wrong with you, we're disconnecting from relationships. I don't know if any of this really makes sense or gets through how detrimental all of this is when we're not balancing it outright. And by balancing, I mean we're not doing any of it. We're purely electronic nowadays, right? And that's sad that we can't have one-on-one personal relationships. And then we wonder why people are struggling more and more and more with mental health. We're pulling further away from God, and we're pulling further away from each other. And don't get me wrong, I've told my husband, I need like a 3-day just Chrissy get away from everything vacation, right? Get away from everything. There's a time for that. There's a time to just be by yourself, but there's far and more time that we need each other, right, to have quality mental health and good healthy relationships. And I'm not saying that you talk to everyone you know, but you have that core people that you can reach out to and you communicate with, and you have interests, you share happiness, you share heartbreak. Friends, I hope this video reaches someone and helps you in some way. Some people might think it's completely just insane, and that's fine. But there's definitely a relationship between this electronic world that we live in and mental health and depression and just distancing from each other. So I end every video this way. It's always my hope and heart that you feel this. God loves you. I love you. Your family loves you. Your friends love you. And we need you here. We'll see you in the next one, friends. Bye.